All right, welcome everyone to today's webinar. I'm so excited to be joined by Isabelle. We interviewed you on our podcast. I'm forgetting the number right now, but we really dived into your story and how you took your business over from your father. And it was just a great interview. We really enjoyed, and so excited to jump into this topic of assisted living and really the opportunity that's in front of us, right, as investors.
Yeah.
Not just to invest and make money, but to solve a problem. Quite honestly, solve a really big problem, which I love when we talk about that in real estate. So before we do that, and you jump into your presentation and all that good stuff, and residential assisted living has been a big supporter of InvestHer. They're going to be back at InvestorCon June 1st to 3rd. If you've not gotten your tickets, you need to get them. Really excited. We're going to be in Orlando, really full steam ahead now as we're into the new year. So been a great supporter. Isabelle will be speaking there as well. So I'd love to hear in the chat your name, where you're calling in from. And when it comes to the topic of investing, either actively or passively, in the assisted living space, I should say, what do you want to learn about? Because Isabelle is she has built a very successful business. She not only does this strategy herself, she teaches other people to do it. So she knows what she's talking about. So I really want to be mindful of questions and getting your questions answered. That's why we do these live webinars. We're not here recorded. We're not doing other things. This is all about you and really getting your questions answered that are on your mind right now, as we record in early 2025. So I'd love to see who's here. Please put in the chat your name and where you're calling in from. Let's keep it simple. But if there is anything that's top of mind for you as we jump into this topic of assisted living investing, if you will, from Maine, Tammy. You got a tree in your little thing. I like that. Nice to meet you, Tammy. Sarah from Montgomery County. You're close to me. So you want to know how we can find out the different rules required to open RALs in different states, PA versus New Jersey, for example. That's great.
Great question.
All right. That's a really good question. Good. I want your wheels turning now in this space, so you get the most out of today's webinar. And that's the other thing I'll share is that something I really want to encourage you, not just on today's webinar, anything we do at InvestHer or any webinar or event that you attend, online, offline, go in with an intention. It's always great to learn things that you didn't expect to learn or meet people you didn't expect to meet, but it's really powerful to go into a call with an intention. So you don't leave that like, what the hell just happened, versus I go in with an intentionality. So if you have any intentions you want to include in the chat, put that there. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce you, Isabelle. Thank you so much for being here and being such a big supporter of our community. And I love this topic. So I'm selfishly really pumped to learn from you. So without further ado, thank you for being here.
Here we go. Thanks so much. And I'm excited to be here. And thank you all for introducing yourselves in the chat. And I know I'm going to go through some content, but then we're going to stick around for questions. So I love the questions that are already coming in because I can definitely help address those for you. I know today we want to talk about how to turn single family homes into cash flow machines with residential assisted living. And we're really going to break into, market demographics and how you can do this passively and the 3 cash flow opportunities. And I'll give you a chance to connect with me after, the webinar as well if you want to learn more. But, I love being a part of the investor community because truly it's everybody just giving, everybody sharing and really helping one another. And to me, this is one of the only ladies groups that actually everyone's doing stuff. So I love to talk to you guys because you're action takers. So here we go. Let's dive in. I know we want to talk about, the real estate market and evaluating demand. So, what's going to be changing in 2025? We're right in the beginning of the year. There's a lot that's coming up ahead, whether it's, politically, socially, economically, all of these different questions that we're going to be asking ourselves, and what we always want to be looking at what's coming up. So we can kind of drive ourselves crazy asking what's going to change, because everything's going to change. Everything looks different day to day, and it's always moving forward. I like to ask kind of the opposite end of the question. What's not going to change? What's never going to go away? And the reality is that, aging, as much as we all try to stop it, we're all aging and we can't help it. And that is something that is inevitable. It's going to happen. And not just with us, but with our elderly senior loved ones. Right now, the silent generation lives in assisted living. There's 47 million in that generation. And the baby boomers, the eldest of the baby boomers, they're not even coming into this market for another 5 years. So we need to make sure we're targeting the right people when it comes to our marketing and our demographics and our location of where we want the home. We need to focus on the demographic of the people who are right there. But that big green wave, that wall, that spike, to me, that says future opportunity, right? We're on the precipice of this chart going whoop, way up. And that's what you love to see when you're trying to invest in something new. Timing's never been better. We call it the silver tsunami of seniors. The baby boomers, they've been driving our economy for the last 70 plus years. And this is really your chance to kind of take advantage of that trend, but also provide a solution for your family or friends who need this help and support. The world looked very different in 1950 than it's projected to look in 2050 or even 2060. That 85 plus demographic, it is the fastest growing demographic on planet Earth today. They are coming and we cannot stop it. So it doesn't even matter to me if you say, hey, residential assisted living, that's not for me. But what touches the senior housing population that also touches your heart, that also touches your skills? Get involved somehow, some way with that right there. How do we determine if a market is correct or incorrect? We have to do an internal feasibility study. This is what the big boxes are doing. This is what they spend millions of dollars doing. You determine the number of seniors in the area who will likely need assisted living. You can do this through demographic research and finding the ages and populations of people in your area. And then you determine the number of assisted living beds that exist. This directory will be on your state DHS website. You'll be able to download a list of all the care homes, or you could go to ralhomelocator.com where we have all 50 states databases in one place. And then you compare those two numbers. Is there a need or is the market saturated in your particular area? What we're seeing, and this is like, what Forbes Health just released, there are not enough assisted living beds. Throw a dart, right? There's demand everywhere. California is approving 200 RAL applications every single month because even though it looks, oh, well, look, they already have 4,000, it's still not enough. Let's look into the numbers even deeper. There are about 1.2-ish, a little bit less, million assisted living beds right now in our country. But we need almost 2.2, 2.3 right there in just the next 4 years. We are short 1.1 million assisted living beds. This is across our country, but let's be real, you guys, the baby boom, it was because of a world war. This is happening everywhere. So if you like to invest internationally, this could be an opportunity for you to do international as well. We focus only on US, but the sky is the limit. NIC is projecting we're only adding 70,000 beds per year, but we're 1.1 million short and we're on the precipice of that big silver tsunami. This could be a huge crisis or a major opportunity. It's going to be a crisis. Let's break that down. It's going to be a crisis for those who don't have the income saved up to pay for their loved ones. For an average, by the way, you stay in assisted living for an average of 3.5 years. So if you don't have the income to pay for that, it will be a crisis. If you don't have the ability to afford someone else's care home, it's going to be a crisis because the cost of care has gone up 87% over the last 20 years. And if you don't have a plan, it's going to be a big crisis. It's going to be an opportunity for people who say, this is what I know, this is what I can provide, and I'm going to take action. We always say, I guarantee you're going to get involved in senior housing one way or the other. And I want to reiterate this even more today because it's ladies here. You guys, we are typically the ones in the family who the burden falls on us for mom or dad sick, they need care and assistance. You're responsible for figuring out where they're going to go or paying for it or just figuring it out, right? Like women, it's our superpower, but it's also one of the burdens of being, a female in a family typically. You will either be lying in the bed or writing the check for someone who is, or you could be cash flowing and having a place for your loved ones to go. So, what is residential assisted living? Simply, it is a group home for seniors that provides assistance with their ADLs, activities of daily living. Think everything you do from the moment you get up out of bed to the moment you go to bed at night. Brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, getting out of bed, walking, toileting, bathing, eating, taking medication. Seniors need help with 3 to 5 ADLs by the time they move in. They are not moving in for funsies. Okay. This is a photo of one of my care homes, and I'm going to share a couple of them. They are residential homes in residential settings. When I say single family, I do not mean a 3-bed, 2-bath. Okay, that's probably too small because you're allowed to have somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in the residential zoned RAL home. Okay, so we want large luxury upscale homes. Think 300 to 500 square feet per resident. Okay, these are great homes with great appreciation, really nice neighborhoods. You know, when you look inside the home, the floors are smooth and clean. The furniture is age appropriate. It's not IKEA. You need to be able to put your weight on it and not have it slip out under you, you know. In the bedrooms, there's beds, dressers, nightstands, and tables, things that you or I may have in our own home. And the bathrooms, they're senior safe with guardrails, handrails, ramps. Does not need to be ADA compliant, but you want it as close to that as possible for senior accessibility and safety. Who's living in the home? None other than our adorable seniors just living out their golden years. And I love to share this photo because, you know, the difference of what we offer than what you're probably used to seeing when you think assisted living, a big commercial, you know, facility, is this. It's the caregiver to senior ratio. In a large community, you guys, it's 30 seniors to 1 caregiver. In our homes, we recommend a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 ratio. This not only protects the seniors, allows them to get attended to in a comfortable time frame, allows them to be loved and known by their name, but it also protects the caregivers. When we hear reputation of the caregivers are abusing and neglecting and this and that, one person cannot take care of 30 people. Reality check, right? If this was kids, it'd be illegal. So to me, these homes, we're disrupting the industry. We're saying no more hotels, we're Airbnbs, no more taxis, we're Ubers. This is this different. This is the unique, this is the individualized approach. You know, and we go hard in the homes, whether we're celebrating Mardi Gras, St. Patrick's, Thanksgiving, Halloween, you name it. We want them to have the best of the best in their last years of life. It is not a Brookdale, a Sunrise, an Atria, big long hallways like we talked about with impersonal staff where your loved one is literally called by their room number, where the average attendance response time is 4 hours. Ding your call bell, someone's not coming for 4 hours. The fact that these big facilities are not shut down is bewildering to me, honestly. The more you dig in, the more upset you'll be. But it's also not Golden Girls, right? For mature women who live in a home who need minor help with landscaping or changing a light bulb. This isn't what it is either. We see those 65 plus communities being built all over the country. And that is also because of the silver tsunami, but they're targeting a senior who can walk and talk a lot more than what we're going after with assisted living and needing help with the ADLs. So how much does assisted living cost? Well, you guys just shared you're coming in from all over the country. So nationally, the average rate is $5,350 per month per resident. That's how much they're paying. So what this may look like financially is if you're paying less than this, you're in a below average home, maybe a home that accepts government funding or something of that nature. And I want you to stay in the sweet spot if you're going to get started in this industry, because I know level 5 looks nice. Ooh, 8 to 10K per person, sign me up. But look at the shape of the chart. It gets smaller at the top. Your opportunity zone shrinks because if someone can afford that, they may be able to afford in-home care, which is also insanely expensive. So I want you to stay in the sweet spot, and that's where you have the largest demographic right there of people you can serve who can afford to live in your home. How do you find the average rate in your area? This is your website, genworth.com/cost of care. When you go here, you can type in the area you live or you like to invest, and it will pop up the average rates. I want you to remember one thing. The average rates include our friends on government funding as well as our private pay friends. That's giving us the average. We only do private pay. So whatever they're telling you the average is, if you start in this industry and do private pay like us, you'd probably be getting a couple thousand more than what they're saying the average is. All right. Most expensive places in our country, DC is at the tippy top, $9,563 on average per month per person. Hawaii's next. Maine, I know one of our attendees said she was coming in from Maine. There we go, 8,712 right there for you. Vermont, where Liz just was, it's also in our top 10. Delaware, New Jersey, Alaska, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and then Maryland rounding us out at 6,900. Depending on where you are in the state, it can also go up or down. So Genworth will not just tell you your state, it will also tell you your city or your county, wherever you live right there. Let's dive into the 3 strategies for creating cash flow now that we kind of have a base knowledge of market demand and what this looks like and how to find average rates in your area. So the 3 ways that you can start creating cash flow. First is you could own the real estate and lease it to an operator. We call this being a preferred real estate provider. Basically, you're going to get a home, fully renovate it for assisted living, and lease it out to someone who's going to run the business in the home. Okay, so you're adding fire suppression, widening hallways and doorways, ramps and guardrails, more bedrooms, bathrooms. You're doing the full reno, and then they are willing to pay you up to 2 times the fair market rent. Why would they do that? Well, it's because you did all the work. You sped up their time to success. Now they just get to come in and start their business right away, and they're willing to pay for speed. They're a long-term tenant. And what I mean by that, for all my landlord friends on the line, listen, they are signing a 3, 5, 8, 10. I've even seen a 12-year contract. They do not want to be kicked out. They do not want you to be looking for a new tenant every year. Their business is based on location and reputation. They need to be there. They've chosen that location for a reason. So they will sign a nice long contract with you where you don't have to worry about finding a new tenant every single year. And they're a low impact tenant that requires little or no maintenance. No teenagers punching holes in the wall, right? No pit bulls being bred in the living room. They are, depending on how you set up the contract, and we encourage that you set it up, you're hands off in regards to maintenance. It's all on them. They're the one running the business, so they have the budget for it. This is a beautiful way for you to start cash flowing just on the real estate side. Some pros and cons, right? This is a long-term tenant. That's a huge pro. You're not going to have vacancies for a long time based on the contract you set up. You might not be in charge of maintenance, and they're a lower impact tenant, just like we talked about. You have potential for hard market rent, but here's the cons. It's a new business. They might not have a track record. They may ask you for rent concessions. I chatted with another guy in the industry and he said, hey, I'm leasing a home for this. And I asked my landlord for no rent for the first 3 months, rent and a half for the next 6 months. And I'm like, that's pretty cool because he knows he's not going to be cash flowing right away. So they may be asking for some different things right there. They also may not like the remodel and renovation that you did, and they may say, I want to change this, that, or the other, and that could affect the value up or down. So if you are going to go that route, yes, the pros are amazing, but here's the cons that you need to know as well. How do you find the fair market rent in your area? You can go to rentometer.com or any website like that where you can determine the fair market rent. And then, of course, it's probably only going to show you maybe a 6-bed, 5-bath in comparison. In my area, in Arizona, I'm allowed to have 10 residents. Remember, I said you can have anywhere between 6 and 16. I'm limited to 10 here in Arizona. It's not going to be able to show me 10-bed, 10-bath comparison, but it will show me a 6.5, which is probably the next closest level right there. And that's how you can find out maybe this is what you'd be charging if it was a regular single family, and you could be charging more because of what you've done. The second way you can start cash flowing, own the real estate and operate the business. So you're not leasing to someone, you're doing both sides of it. This is what we do and what most of our students do, because in this case, you can control the most and you're also making the most money. So let's break down the money before I share with you the third strategy. We know that the average rates in our country is 5,350. So I bumped it up to 5,500 just for nice, easy math right there. Timesing it by 10 residents because it's right in between our 6 and 16. That's bringing us in $55,000 of monthly gross income. But there are a lot of expenses in this industry. It is not a regular landlord, I shouldn't say landlord, a regular real estate, business where you don't have to pay any of these expenses. You do. You're paying for cable and internet and food and landscaping activities, utility. You're paying for caregivers, for licensed administrators. Staffing is key to success. We'll talk about that in a moment. Property insurance, property taxes, you always want to bake in a 10% vacancy. And then liability insurance. It's going to be $2 to $3 per resident per day. With 10 residents, it's a line item at $900 a month, right? But you definitely want it and you definitely need it. I know there was insurance questions in the chat too. I put two numbers at bottom because 25,000 is if you plan to be the candlestick maker, the cook, and the baker. You're going to live in the home, work in the home, help the seniors yourself, shop for the groceries yourself. This is not what we do, and this is not what I suggest that you do. But I know some people maybe want to start a business that they're in it. And so you can do that and decrease your expenses. I'm going to show you how to do this the most hands-off, the most passive. And to do that, we have to hire the licensed appropriate staff. So I want us to use the higher expense number and bake it into our example right there. Debt service, it's gonna cost us to get a home that can house 10 people. So I put in $10,000 a month. In most parts of the country, that would afford you something that can work for this. That leaves you with $10,000 of monthly net income or $120,000 a year. But the reality is, this is an average home and it is Tuesday at whatever time it is in your location. I don't think you're average because an average person is sitting on the couch watching Netflix. An average person is working a 9 to 5. You're here trying to learn, trying to invest in yourself, trying to find a new strategy that may be, your key to success. You don't seem average. And most of these average homes, you wouldn't want to leave your goldfish, let alone your grandmother. So let's look at something nicer, a little bit more above average, where you would be comfortable, where your own, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa would be comfortable, and something that you can cash flow even better on. So $6,700 times 10 residents. It's a nicer home, so we can charge more. Your overhead stays the same because it's the same 10 residents, but your debt service increases. It's a nicer home in a better part of town, more bedrooms, bathrooms, bigger lot size, whatever the case is. We've put in $12,000 a month, and this leaves you with $20,000 of monthly net income or $240K a year. This is what our students, Scott and Michelle, out in Metairie, Louisiana, are getting right now on their care home. It's absolutely possible. The nicer you go, the more you can charge. It's not the cost of the real estate that matters, right? The expenses are staying the same. Some of you live in places where you can have 15 or 16 residents, maybe Ohio, Georgia, Texas, New Jersey, Illinois, Indiana, Idaho, just to name a few, right? Maybe you want to do a luxury. You want to go to that high end and do that level 4 or level 5. So you want to do a luxury home at $8,000 a month times 15 residents, bringing in $120,000 every month. Your overhead here does increase because it's not 10 residents, it's 15. So we need to now pay for more care, which is our most expensive line item. We need to pay for more food, more utilities, more, you name it. Plus it's luxury. If they want lobster and cheesecake every night, they get it, right? Whatever they want, they get. We'll put it in right there. Debt service is going to cost us quite a bit. I put in $20,000 for debt service on this home. That leaves you with $40,000 of monthly net income or $480K a year. I know people making 40K a month, our students, and I know people who are making 40K a year. The only difference is what's between their two ears, right? There's no difference. You can absolutely be doing this. The third way that you can cash flow on these homes is being a private lender or JV partner. You don't own the real estate, you don't operate the business. You just want to invest in someone who's doing this and get those great returns. Returns could be from 6 to 15%. That's always the next question is, well, what do the returns look like? It totally ranges because it's going to be based on the deal. Everyone's deals are going to be different, but there may be people in this group who say, I want to be the sweat equity side, and others who say, I want to be the lender. And that's your perfect partnership. So you could partner up with people right here, right now. And if this is you, that's a great way to go about this. Really, the two ways that people raise money for their RALs, how they fund these, is SBA 7A or 504 loans, or second is using private money, doing a syndication or a partnership. It's an amazing way to not use your own money and get started. And for other people who are looking for good returns, it's a good way to give them a good return and have them invest in something that matters to them. So I love this for all factors, and that's your three ways you can cash flow. I want to share with you some misconceptions before I jump into how to properly manage an RAL passively. And the first one is, do you have to work in the home? Listen, I do not work in my 3 homes. I spend 5 hours a week managing them. They're about 45 minutes down the road from me, and I've set it up that way for that reason. I don't want to be tempted to go over every day. I have my administrator. I have my staff in place. I don't want the call when a caregiver calls out. What am I going to do? I'm not licensed to be a caregiver, so don't call me. I can't help. If you set up the systems, you don't have to work in the home, right? It's not going to be a problem when you set it up correctly from the beginning. Liability, we talked about that earlier. Is it going to, break the roof? Is it going to be through the roof? It's $2 to $3 per resident per day, line item. You want it, you need it. I'm going to say you definitely have to have it. All right. You can't find good employees. Ooh, these are fighting words, right? We talked about the employee experience and 30 to 1 or the 4 to 1 that you're offering. If you're getting paid the same, which job do you think you want? Right? This job is just so much more, let's call it what it is. It's sexier for them. They get to take care of less people, actually do the job that's on their heart to do, get paid the same or maybe even $1 or $2 more, get to hang out in a mansion all day and get 3 free meals. It's actually a lot easier than what many of them are coming from the Brookdale or Sunrise telling us what they had to experience. They're burned out over there. But beyond what we're giving them, I want to implore you all that if any one of you is an employer and you're saying, I can't find good employees, pause. Is it about them or is it about you? Are you being the best employer that you can be? To me, I think it's my responsibility that if a caregiver does give that call to the manager and says, hey, I can't come in, my tire just busted, I'm on the highway, I don't even know how I'm going to afford this right now. That's when I like to step in. That's when I like to say, let me know where they are. Meet them on the highway, get them an Uber, go take their car, buy them a new tire. A $400 tire means nothing when I'm cash flowing over 10K a month. To me, that's where you get the loyalty. It's the small things that matter. It's remembering those moments, remembering the coffee or bagel order or whatever it is, and showing up when they need you, treating them with respect and love. Do you need medical experience? You don't. But if you are a medical professional, you can use that in your marketing, having a doctor-owned home or a nurse-owned home, and that can help you attract residents. But you do not need medical experience to get started in this industry. And HOA won't let me do this. Well, that's simply not true. Because of the Federal Fair Housing Act, which is a federal law, it protects us, which is beautiful. Because listen, Airbnbs, their cities come and just boom, shut you down overnight. And that sucks, right? We're protected. So a city, a state, a county, an angry neighbor, an HOA can't tell you no. That does not mean that they won't try. They may try, but it is a federal law. And we created the one and only national association that protects all 30,000 group home owners. So if you run into this issue, you call the lawyers that we have there at the REL National Association. They'll write you a letter and you'll be good to go. Seniors can't afford this. The seniors we are target marketing, they can. And that's the big thing, finding the right seniors who we want to market right there. I know I only have a couple minutes before we jump into Q&A. So I want to go through how to manage an RAL passively, because I know this is important to many of you. First, live where you want and invest where it makes sense. Location is everything. If you have the wrong location, you will not have steady clients. You want to be in an area where the majority population is 50 to 70 years old, making 2 times the median income, homeowners, college grads. That is not the senior. That is the adult child. That's what we call daughter Judy. It's usually the adult female child, right? That's her. We want to see where she lives, eats, works, sleeps, play, and we want to put our home right in the center of her world, because she does not want to drive 45 minutes outside of town because it's cheaper. She wants to drive 5 minutes on her way home from work, or, picking up the kids or whatever it is. You have to have the right location. Do not put granny in a level 1 home. I don't care if you're like, hey, I can afford the real estate there. No, 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 no. You're not going to use your own money to do this anyways. But you also don't need to go to the most luxurious part of town with manicured lawns and guard gated neighborhoods. We don't need to go that high end. We want you to stay in the sweet spot, level 3, 4, right there. 31% of care home owners are remote owners. They own a home in a place where they do not live. If you want to be passive, that is a great way that you need to consider in location. Second, team. You cannot be passive if you don't have a team. You have to build the team. And this is going to be so, so important. Mariella, my manager, she oversees all 3 of my homes. The 5 hours a week I'm spending is meetings with her. It's her updating me on move-ins, move-outs, caregiver changes. Can she spend this on this? A handyman's coming over today, a sprinkler broke, or whatever. That's what the meeting is. That's what I'm spending my time doing. And she's handling it all. In our world, we call it a licensed administrator, but in your world, you probably know it as a PM, right? A property manager. That's really what they're doing, but it is also a medical license that they have. So it's that real estate kind of covering the house, but also medically, they know what the seniors need and what the caregivers need to be trained on as well. She's the one who gets the call when they call out, not me. And when you set up team and you set up systems, that's how you can become passive. All right. Third, marketing. This is not if you build it, they will come. No matter if you've done your internal feasibility study and you say, but there's a need in my market and this is amazing. Okay, great. That means that this is going to be good, but it doesn't mean you can't not market. You have to market. And if you want to be passive, you need to spend those market dollars on the right person. 90% of seniors do not want to go into assisted living, but 70% of us will need daily care for an average of 3.5 years. If you market to the senior, you are wasting your dollars. You need to market to daughter Judy. She is the one who's making those decisions. So if you want your beds full, you need to speak her language. You need to get in front of her. You need to say the things she wants. Make sure she's the one coming to tour the home. Number 4 is systems. This is the documents. This is the protocols. We all just saw what happened in California with the fires. What if? That's what you need to have written down, because if you want to be passive and you want to be hands off, everything needs to be systemized. You need to have the what if ... and everyone in the home needs to know the protocol, know what to do, have it practiced, be ready to go for that. Systems, policies and procedures, emergency plans, menu schedules, those are going to be your key to success right there. One home could be cash flowing you really, really well. And I love this industry because of that. Many people get out of a portfolio of 10 homes, 20 homes, 30 homes to get down to one home. And it becomes, really nice in that way. But it can also be a beautiful solution for your own loved ones when they need assistance and care. Today, we were able to go through evaluating market demand and really kind of dive into what this looks like on a national level, and then find the rates in your area. We got to talk about the 3 strategies for creating cash flow and then how to manage an RAL passively. We broke down how you can make $10,000, $20,000, even $40,000 a month on one of these homes. And if this is exciting to you, then I want to invite you to connect with us even more. We've got a ton of free resources for you at ral101.com, or you can use that QR code and schedule a link with me or the team right there. I'd love to answer any of your questions one-on-one. I know I'll be here to do questions too, but if you have anything further that you need a one-off combo with, feel free to get that scheduled. So thanks for letting me be here. And I'm sure there's questions in the chat, so I know we can dive in, but I really appreciate everybody's time because I know there's a million things you could be doing. So thank you for being here.
Love it. And when it comes to this topic, right? Isabel, I don't know anyone else that knows as much as you do. So I just love that you're not only in the business, but you're in it in so many different ways, right? Actively, passively, helping other people do it. So just really appreciate I really want to field a lot of questions. I also want to make a quick note. In the chat box, there was a lot of back and forth of some women who need private lenders, some women who don't want to do it actively, passively.
Good.
I really want to make a quick note that we just launched Investor Plus. It's $185 a year, and it's actually a network. So we're moving women right from Facebook to this platform. It's a one-stop platform. Our sponsors like Isabelle and all of our supporters, they're going to be in this platform as well. And the beautiful part about it is literally finding people in markets and asset class that you want to do. So what everyone's doing in the chat box with phone numbers and emails, and then we're going to close this out and you're going to lose this information. That is why we've launched Investor Plus. And literally it's less than what you pay for coffee on a yearly basis, and you get access to so much. We literally just launched it last week. You're going to get perks and discounts from our partners like Isabelle and RAL and other great companies. So I just want to make a mention of it because I saw the chat box blowing up, and literally that is the reason why we've created Investor Plus. So I really want to make mention of that. So let's field some questions. And I'll put some information about there just so people can learn about it, because I think people would benefit from that as well in general. So let's talk about Fabian is asking, what's the best way to find vetted operators? I'm interested in becoming a preferred real estate provider.
Great question. Listen, there is no platform for them, right? So coming to assisted living conferences or events, starting to attend meetups. There's so many groups that host meetups. We host a bunch of free meetups as well. So that could be a place where you come in and say, I'll do the real estate. Anybody want to be a partner on that end? And then just coming live in person. Or there may be someone in your life who, you already do business with who might want to do that. But there's no like database for them. I wish there was. I wish I could send you that way, but there's not. It's one-on-one relationships that you got to start building.
Right. That's kind of what we're talking about, right? Efficiently networking. I don't know about you, but you want to be around people playing the same level and that you can tap, not just on asset class, but by geography, right? Real estate's hyper local. You're not going to know every local area. So that's just something important. I saw some questions in the chat box. Let me see if
I see. I know Sarah asked that first one up front where she said, how do I find the different states' rules and regs? And Sarah, the best place you're going to go is your Department of Health and Services website. When you go there, you're going to type in whatever RAL is called in your area. And unfortunately, it's not called RAL everywhere. Some states, it may be called personal care home or board and care. California, it's called RCFE. So find out exactly what it's called in your area, search your Department of Health website, and that's your new Bible. It's a thick, thick book that tells you everything you need to know. But know this, 80% of the rules are the same across every state. It's only minor differences. So once you find it, you pretty much know what it is.
What is the typical upfront cost for this? I'm wondering.
Great question. So it really ranges. I know Carly asked that. It really ranges. And this is why I'll say, because there's 4 ways you could do this. If you're going to lease a home to do this, that's one of the more inexpensive ways, right? Because you may be paying like a security deposit and an upfront something, but that's one of your faster, cheaper ways to get in. It could take you 3 months from today to go in that direction. If you're going to buy a single family and convert, it's the cost of the real estate, which is whatever the average in your area is. I can't say a flat rate because San Jose is very different than Mississippi, right? So whatever real estate is, and then what renovation are you doing? Are you adding 3,000 square feet, or are you not changing an outside wall and just chopping it up differently? So real estate cost plus reno cost, carrying cost, you always want to set aside 2 months of carrying costs minimum, because you're not going to be cash flowing day one. And then FF&E, and of course, paying yourself all the while. So that could take you 6 month timeline, and it really ranges in what you need. The third way is to buy land and custom build from the ground up. If you live in an area where you can have 15 or 16 residents, I'm going to encourage you to go this direction, even if it's scary, even if you've never done it, because I promise you, it's going to be a lot harder to convert a home, right? A regular home, maybe even a large home, like a 5.4 or a 6.5 to a 16.16. Like you basically are doing a ground up build. Just do it and make it perfect from day one. That could take you a 1 to 3 year timeline, and it's probably going to be quite expensive, but it's perfect from day one. The fourth way you can do this is buy an existing RAL. You buy the real estate, buy the business. You're up and running, cash flowing day one. That will be the cost of the real estate plus 2 to 5 times the EBITDA on the business. If I'm selling, I want it high. If I'm buying, I want it low. It falls with what you're willing to pay. Okay. So 4 different ways, 4 different timelines, and it really ranges based on location.
I want to make mention, because something that I have a lot of expertise on, I'm sure you do as well, Isabel, is the using lenders and then using equity partners. And so I see a lot of chatter, right? And a good chatter. I love to see women like, I need the money, I have the deal. Here's a few things to think about. And I'd love to hear your perspective, Isabel. You have lending, and then you have equity, right? Two different strategies, right? And then even at equity, you can go 50-50, or depending on the percent, with a partner. You have to be very careful. I hear some people like, I have the money and I can do the sweat equity. Well, that's called a syndication, right? That's called filing with the SEC. I hear people all the time partnering on deals. One's the money person, one's a sweat equity, and that technically is not legal. And so what you really, not technically, it's not legal. I'm not an attorney, but I've done a lot of raising private capital over the 20 years I've been investing.
Yep.
And you want to be really mindful of how you structure deals, okay?
Yes.
I don't care what asset class it is. You have to be very careful. So my point in saying all this is that a lot of people, when they're getting going and they may not have the money, using a lender, a private lender, is actually a great strategy, just because you're okay. We're not partners, but you're going to be, having a lender. I'm curious, Isabel, in that sense, you always need a value add opportunity. So if you're buying a turnkey, there's no value to be had. So you being able to make the lender whole in 6 to 12 months is very hard. So I'm curious, is there a strategy of, I would imagine you could potentially buy a dilapidated property and the value is in the actual real estate, right? Because the value is really to be had there, where you can use a lender. Is that, I'm just curious to pick your brain from a structuring perspective, because I see a lot of banter on the chat around that.
Yes, great question. Okay, I'm writing it down so I don't miss it. Number one, second, Liz, if you are going to do this, you need to do it right and you need to do it legally. Okay, so PPMs are a CYA, cover your assets. All right, make sure that you get everything legally down and you're working with a true syndication attorney, not just any attorney, a real syndication attorney who knows how to do this and knows how to set it up. Value add. When you're buying an existing business, here's the beautiful thing about this industry. 80% of these homes are being run by immigrants, people who live in the home, work in the home, do the care themselves. There's actually a lot of value add. We represent the 20% who's running this as like traditional business owners, more hands off, more passively. So when you're going in and seeing their business, their numbers are not going to be that great. Usually they're the administrator, their husband's a caregiver, their son mows the lawn, and you're actually able to go in and say, your rates are low. I know they're higher in this area. I'm going to change this, change that, add in this, add in that, and do a huge value add. We have a student, Snawing, out in Wisconsin. When he purchased his home, the average rates in the home were $3,500. Last I heard, his average rates are now up to $7,500 because of little things he helped fix and turned it into like a true business. Now, why would they ever want to sell? After 7 or 8 years, that's always the timeline, there's burnout. If you are going to work in this home and be in it 24/7, 7, 8 years, your clock ticks and it's like, I don't care how much I'm making, I need to get out. That's why we start it the way you want it later. You want to be hands off later, then start it hands off now. Doesn't mean you can't do that value add. But I'll also say this, Liz, we're typically not paying any investors back that short. That's like
Yeah.
almost like a hard money. We're looking at like a 3 to 5 year timeline. So like a true, private lender who's like, don't pay me back, prepayment penalty if you pay me back before X amount of time. But we need a longer timeline.
So equity and syndication, that strategy sounds like it's more appropriate.
Exactly. Yes.
Makes sense, which is a whole other business, but just to get everyone thinking, wheels turning, you just want to make sure you're careful how you structure equity.
Yes.
Another good question. April's asking about how they can join you to be a mentor through the process. So if you want to answer that.
Yeah, we have online courses as well as 3-day trainings. We have mentorship and coaching all available. So we can talk about that if you want to schedule a call and go through it. But we host live trainings here in Phoenix, Arizona. We just had one last weekend. We capped them out at about 100 people there in the room. They happen every 6 to 8 weeks. So our next one's coming up in March. And they're really amazing events. We're breaking down step by step exactly how to do this so that you can leave and go out and make it happen. And should you want to work with us after class, we have that coaching and mentoring available. But we really built the class. I'm teaching it, and everyone else who's teaching it, they're past students who went out, got their care homes up and running, and now they're back to teach and train you guys. So I love that because you're getting able to pick our brains the entire weekend, network with other people, and it's just so much fun. We've had a lot of amazing gals from InvestHer come to the group, and we're working with a couple of them, coaching and mentoring them. So it's really fun. So if you want to come, make sure to grab a ticket to one of those events. And I think we have, and Katie's on, maybe I'll need to see if she can say anything, but we do have discounts for all the InvestHer gals. So I'm sure she can put the promo code if you do want to take action there, because we want to honor that. Don't buy full price. Get your investor discount.
There you go. All right, we got another question here, and then we'll make this the last question unless anyone else has, because there's a lot of questions. The key is about taking action, which I'll end on here. You mentioned you mentioned the Fair Housing Act and HOAs. Are REL considered a business or a residential housing? For example, my HOA does not allow businesses to be operated out of homes.
Great question, Felicia. So here is the important thing to remember. First of all, this is not considered a business. It is a home for seniors. And that's how you phrase it. It's not technically a business. It's still residential, and HOA can't stop it. The Federal Fair Housing Act, it protects us not because they're senior. It protects us because they're considered disabled. If you need help with 3 to 5 ADLs and you cannot safely live alone, you are considered disabled. So this is a house that is safer for them. So they're not calling the ambulance as much. They're not having fall hazards as much. They have that support. So it's all about wording. And that's where that RAL National Association comes in, where those lawyers can write you a beautiful letter to get around whoever tries to stop you and tell you no.
Cool. And what are some of the risks? Because there's obviously risks with everything we do.
Yeah.
That's the point. So I'd love to hear your perspective too on what risks people should be mindful of before opening and considering this as a strategy.
I'm going to say 3 things. Number one, undercapitalization is the worst mistake anyone can make in any business, and especially RAL. You cannot run out of money. This is people's lives. It's not just a house, it's lives. So please, if you are going to raise capital for this, you need to overestimate what you need, because if one thing goes wrong, that could kill you. So overcapitalization, not under, that is major. Second, I'm going to say location. So many people will say, well, I've got a home and let me try to make it work with this home. If it is not in the right demographics, if you have not done the internal feasibility study, do not do it there. Like, you have to do these things and make sure that this area is what it needs and what it wants and where it's going to work. Not every house will work for this. So please, please, please take the time, do your market research, and make sure that it's right for this. And the third thing I'll say is, it's not like a risk, but it's the worst or hardest part of this business is people. And I don't mean the seniors. Many times it's the families who come with them. There's a lot of high expectations. There's a lot of high need. It's just people is the difficult thing in any business. If it was paperwork and houses, like it'd be a lot easier. People are difficult, and so we have to make sure that we're going about this in the right way. And what I mean by that is daughter Judy or that adult child, there are so many emotions happening when she brings mom or dad to live with you. She's angry, she's guilty, she's resentful, she's frustrated, she's sad, she's mad, she's everything under the sun, but also you're giving her relief. So it's this strange thing where you're literally communicating with someone at one of the worst times of their life, and you need to remember that and put that hat on when you go into those conversations with family members, and when you're dealing with caregivers who are saying the seniors are, acting up or whatever. Remember that they are doing God's work, right? People are going to be the hardest part of this business for sure.
And it always the case, right? Because again, with this particular strategy, right, you're not just operating the property, right? You're operating a business, which is the other layer of it. I'd love to wrap. This has been awesome. Check out these free resources. These folks, Isabelle and her team are the people to connect with on all things residential assisted living. So check them out. I love the chatter. I love the chat box blowing up about people exchanging information, but that is why we created Investor Plus. So check out that platform. It's literally less than a couple $100 a year. And so that's the reason why we did that. I'd love to hear a takeaway. What's your takeaway, and what one action will you take as a result of today's webinar? Being successful in this business is all about taking action. And it's not about taking a lot of action. It's about doing one thing today as a result of today's webinar. It is like music to our ears, and I'm sure it is to you too, Isabelle, when people come up to you and say, something I learned from you, I did this, and then this is what happened, and I was able to do. Like, it's just, that's why I do what I do. And we just want to see action taken. It's why we're here with all of you today live. So I'd love to hear in the chat box with everyone that is on here, what is your one action, one micro action, even if it, whatever it might be. As an RN, I'm going to research my area for possibilities. I live in suburbs of Atlanta. Awesome, Felicia. And then we want to hear from you. Did you do that? Where did you get stopped? What other support do you need? That's why all these amazing resources are here for you, because I'm sure as you open up this strategy, more questions, more support's needed, right? Yeah. You're welcome, Erica. I looked up the DHS of Pennsylvania. Awesome, Sarah. That's great. Very cool. We'll keep taking action. You can continue to sign up with Isabelle. Sounds like a plan. It sounds like a plan. Good stuff here. Further research of where it would be best online now. Good stuff. Great. I've been following Isabelle for a while now. Just got her book and free course. So I'm going to start there. Great. Check out the REL 101 site. Perfect. It's all about taking action, one action. Isabelle, anything else for you?
Listen, if this is calling to you guys, you're here and you're saying this ticks my boxes. Like Liz is saying, take action, move forward, whatever that looks like. I'm here to help. I'm part of this community, just like you all. So anything you need, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm honored to share with you all, and I look forward to seeing you guys in Orlando. So do good and do well. And I look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you everyone for being on. Do something with what you learned. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, Isabelle.
Thanks, guys.